before sunrise even touches the Pacific horizon. The billionaire's $180 million glass mansion is already away, not symbolically, but systemically. A living architectural organism powered by predictive AI, biometric sleep analytics, and military-grade automation. Perched on a razor-edged California cliff, the estate glows like a transparent citadel above the crashing black ocean, its infinity terraces floating over darkness while silent drones patrol the perimeter airspace. At exactly 4:29 a.m., the house initiates morning sequence. Motorized blinds rise in synchronized precision across 48 rooms. Climate zones recalibrate to his body temperature history. And scent diffusers release a custom neural stimulation fragrance engineered in Switzerland to trigger alertness without cortisol spikes. A 40-foot digital wall illuminates at the foot of his bed, streaming global market dashboards, Asian indices closing green, satellite launches updating, defense contracts fluctuating. And then the AI voice speaks with surgical calm. Good morning, sir. Net worth increase, $84 million overnight, driven by orbital communications and autonomous weapons licensing. His eyes opening not with excitement, but with recognition, because at his level, wealth is no longer emotional. It is atmospheric, like oxygen. He rises from Italian hand-woven linen sheets atop a NASA-engineered pressure mattress and walks barefoot across heated marble as the Pacific hammers the cliffs below. By 4:45 a.m., his trainer arrives, former Olympic performance architect, now retained exclusively, and they enter the West Wing glass gym, a suspended tube over the ocean where transparent flooring reveals waves detonating against rock. Training on AI adaptive resistance systems that recalibrate load by muscle fiber fatigue, while biometric scanners track lactic acid, testosterone output, and neural drive in real time. He moves with disciplined silence, no music, no wasted motion, just breath, steel, and data. Post-workout, he enters a hyperbaric oxygen recovery pod for cellular regeneration while reviewing overnight acquisition briefings projected holographically above him. At 5:40 a.m., breakfast is served on the eastern sunrise terrace. Icelandic glacier water, lab-optimized blueberry protein stacks, Japanese A5 Wagyu egg omelet, rare Colombian coffee harvested from a private plantation he acquired not for profit but preference. Total meal cost exceeding what most families earn monthly, yet he eats absent-mindedly while scanning a $3.2 billion semiconductor merger. Calories merely fuel for cognition. By 6 a.m., the estate shifts into full security mobilization. Armored SUVs ignite in the underground motor court. Ex-Secret Service agents synchronize comms. Cyber teams monitor dark web chatter for kidnapping threats, and aerial drones map a 5-mile radius because mobility at his wealth tier requires military logistics. Stepping outside, ocean wind cutting through tailored Italian fabric, he boards a matte black helicopter whose rotors begin spinning before his foot even leaves the marble. Interior fitted with soundproof leather, encrypted communications arrays, and a champagne compartment he never touches, lifting off into violet dawn for a 6-minute, $8,000 commute above gridlocked freeways, sipping precision brewed coffee while reviewing satellite deployment schedules. He lands atop his 92-story headquarters. A skyscraper he owns outright, entering a penthouse command floor where a digital world map tracks every company under his control. AI labs in Boston, space launch facilities in Texas, robotics plants in Seoul, defense contractors in Virginia, luxury hotels in Dubai. Blinking revenue nodes forming a living empire. Assistants move quietly. Egg conversations measured because one signature here reallocates economies. By 7:10 a.m., he approves a $2.4 billion European acquisition with a pen carved from meteorite alloy, not for symbolism but personal amusement. The morning continues in relentless acceleration. Venture briefings, geopolitical risk assessments, orbital mining projections. His schedule compressed into 5-minute decision windows where hesitation costs millions, yet his expression never fractures into stress, because pressure at this altitude has long since fossilized into routine. By late morning, his aviation team signals departure readiness, and he transitions from skyscraper helipad to long-range mobility, boarding a Gulfstream ultra-long-haul jet whose interior resembles a buying presidential residence, master suite, marble rainfall shower, cinema lounge, surgical grade medical bay, cruising at 30,000 feet while dining on white truffle pasta and Caspian caviar prepared by an onboard Michelin star chef as Manhattan's skyline grows on the horizon, all before most of the world has finished its first coffee. Because in his reality, morning isn't the start of the day, it's already the midpoint of global domination in motion. As the Gulf Stream descends through the steel gray Manhattan skyline, the billionaire remains seated in composed stillness, reviewing merger analytics projected across a curved AK cabin display, while turbulence ripples faintly beneath crystal glassware, a sensation he barely registers after years of living above weather itself. Landing in a private terminal sealed from public access, he exits into a waiting motorcade where armored SUVs form a rolling security cocoon through midtown traffic. Police coordinated light changes, clearing intersections in advance, not by siren but by influence. Within minutes, he enters a glass-walled boardroom suspended high above Central Park where the city looks miniature beneath his feet. Executives already seated in anticipatory silence. Founders, hedge fund controllers, legal tacticians, all aware that the next 42 minutes may redefine their careers. He arrives last, a deliberate choreography of power. Placing the thin titanium briefcase on the obsidian table as acquisition models illuminate across augmented displays, revenue synergies, workforce absorption, patent leverage, negotiations unfolding in low voices sharpened by billion-dollar consequence. No one interrupts him when he finally speaks, his tone calm, surgical. We'll assume 61% controlling interest. Retain your CEO. Integrate AI logistics within 2 quarters. Silence follows, then acceptance, because refusal was never economically survivable. Contracts finalized digitally. Markets begin reacting before he even leaves the building. Financial networks pulsing with algorithmic volatility as analysts scramble to interpret his intent. By early afternoon, he transitions not to rest but to media containment. A private studio interview recorded under NDA conditions where lighting, camera angles, and even journalist questions were pre-negotiated by his communications division to shape investor psychology rather than public curiosity. From there, he's airborne again, not internationally this time, but coastal, helicoptering to a super yacht anchored out the Hamptons, where a closed-door strategy summit unfolds among fellow billionaires, sovereign wealth envoys, and tech defense innovators, a floating parliament of private power discussing satellite weaponization treaties, quantum encryption monopolies, and lunar mineral rights as casually as others discuss weather. Champagne flows, yet few drink heavily. Clarity is currency here. Homage tasting courses arrive in synchronized plating, while encrypted tablets circulate investment corridors unavailable to public markets. By sunset, he withdraws briefly to the yacht's upper deck, alone except for distant security silhouettes, watching the Atlantic burn gold beneath descending light, a rare moment where silence isn't engineered but natural. Though even here, he reviews orbital manufacturing projections on the transparent handheld display. As evening deepens, he departs the yacht via helipad, skyline lights igniting across the horizon like circuitry powering on, returning not home yet but to a political fundraising dinner hosted inside a historic Manhattan penthouse where senators, defense lobbyists, and policy architects gather. Conversations coded, laughter measured, influence traded in regulatory forecasts rather than cash. He speaks little but listens precisely, because legislation shapes markets faster than innovation. And by the time dessert is served, he has quietly redirected 3 infrastructure subsidies toward companies he already controls. Night fully claims the city as he exits the tower under layered security escort, boarding his jet once more. Cabin lights dimmed, engines igniting, leaving behind a metropolis still reacting to decisions he concluded hours earlier, ascending again into the darkened stratosphere where deals, power alignments, and trillion-dollar futures continue forming in the quiet glow of screens before him. Because, for a man of his altitude, afternoon isn't a slowdown, it's where empires quietly change ownership. As his jet pierces the upper atmosphere on the return westward, night unfolding across the curvature of the earth beneath panoramic cabin glass, a billionaire sits alone in the aircraft's forward lounge, lights dim to a soft amber, engineered to reduce neural fatigue, reviewing encrypted projections not of quarterly profit but of generational legacy. Orbital manufacturing grids, privatized space stations, AI-governed defense ecosystems, and off-world resource corridors mapped decades ahead of public comprehension. While most passengers sleep on long-haul flights, his onboard operations suite activates. Analysts patched in via quantum-secured link from 3 continents, presenting risk simulations and geopolitical forecasting as the jet glides at 51,000 feet, faster than commercial traffic, quieter than thought. A late dinner arrives, Alaskan king crab, white truffle risotto, and a 200-year-old balsamic reduction. Yet he eats sparingly, more focused on a satellite defense contract whose approval could shift strategic power between nations. Hours later, the aircraft begins descent toward the Pacific coastline, where his cliffside estate reappears like a luminous structure suspended between ocean and sky. Landing on the private runway carved discreetly into coastal terrain before he transfers via armored convoy up the ascending drive lined with biometric-gated steel and thermal surveillance arrays. As the mansion senses his arrival, night sequence initiates. Exterior glass tinting for privacy, perimeter drones expanding patrol radius, interior lighting warming to circadian evening tones, and he steps onto the infinity terrace where the ocean roars in black vastness below, suit jacket removed, ocean wind pressing against him as if testing the weight of his existence. Inside, a private chef prepares a minimalist dinner aligned to metabolic recovery, while a sommelier presents rare vintages he rarely drinks, preferring cognitive clarity over indulgence. Later, he walks alone through silent hallways displaying museum-grade art acquisitions, Basquiat, Rothko, Renaissance sculptures, not for decoration but for asset diversification, before entering his personal strategy chamber. A circular room encased in interactive glass where global infrastructure maps, defense contracts, and space launch corridors orbit him holographically. Here, near midnight, he conducts his most confidential session: legacy planning, structuring foundations, technological endowments, and planetary scale investments designed to outlive him by centuries. Because billionaires at his tier no longer measure success in years but in civilizational impact. Yet beneath the engineered lighting and algorithmic projections exists a quieter layer of reality, one rarely seen, where absolute wealth produces absolute isolation, where friendships are vetted, conversations filtered, and trust quantified like capital risk. Standing again on the terrace before sleep, he watches cargo ships drift like distant stars across the Pacific trade routes he partially owns, satellites crossing silently overhead, many launched by his own companies. And as midnight passes, the mansion dims, security systems locking into deeper vigilance while bedroom glass walls transition to starlit transparency. He lies down, not exhausted, but still mentally accelerating, reviewing tomorrow's schedule, already forming an AI-generated sequence, acquisitions, launches, political summits, private research unveilings, the machinery of power never fully pausing. And as sleep finally approaches, the ocean continues its relentless collision with the cliffs below, a natural force echoing the scale of the empire he commands. Because while the world measures days by sunrise and sunset, his life operates on a different axis entirely, where time is engineered. Privacy is fortified, influence is routine, and luxury is not an experience reserved for moments, but the permanent atmosphere in which every breath, decision, and dream exist.